Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I am here with Adam Winters. I'm Joe Gould. We got another movie today. I'd like to say it was good. I'm not sure I can. It's Swamp Thing, 1982, directed by the one and only Wes Craven. But you wouldn't know it from this movie.
Well, it's an interesting product, and I'd never watched it all the way through before. I just kind of seen clips here or there, and there's a fairly new 4K Blu-ray combo pack that's been released from MVD Rewind Collection. And I think it has a lot of 15-year-old special features, but it's also, I guess the big thing is it's the official release of the so-called unrated cut, which
Yeah.
might have gotten it a more explicit rating if it had come out in American theaters, but apparently it did come out in some theaters internationally. I don't know.
Yeah, it adds like 2 minutes of inappropriate scenes where Swamp Thing's kind of lingering around while someone bathes. It's kind of an odd
Yeah,
scene.
was she aware Swamp Thing was watching her? Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question.
That's a little bit on the creep side.
Based off the quirkiness of this movie, she might not have cared. And then there was kind of an extended scene later in the movie when Arcane is celebrating his victory that has some people dancing around. But I can see why it got cut. It didn't really add anything to the plot, and it would have prevented some people from being able to get into the theater. So
Yeah. It's amazing. I don't know what Wes Craven's original idea for this movie would have been, but there were a lot of budget cuts very late and a lot of, I don't know the details, but some conflicts on set between people who wanted more money and yada, yada, yada. So you don't know what could have made it in the movie because I didn't read a screenplay or anything, but for some reason the extended lingering shots did make it into the movie, and then they had to cut those out too.
yeah, so it's nuts. This is how little people pay attention to movies, right? So in August of 2000, MGM released it on VHS and DVD. The DVD was supposed to be the PG cut, but they accidentally used the 93-minute international cut. In May of 2002, 19 months later, a Dallas woman rented it, I think, and then reported the discrepancy. In August of 2005, it got recalled. At some point, why bother?
Yeah.
I would imagine by 2002 or 2005, like you're renting it from Blockbuster, that kind of stuff, you're not buying it off the shelf. It's no longer on the shelf.
I kind of think it'd already be out of print anyway. I guess if it's a rental, it's different. But
I guess it would have impacted the rentals back in the day because they would have been permanently advertising it as a PG, but it not being a PG movie. I feel like you could just send the people stickers to put on the back of the box.
Yeah, it's all fair at that point.
But yeah, it's important to note this is pre Freddy, pre Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven. So he'd had a few horror movies earlier in the day, but really he wasn't just a horror guy at the time. And I think it would have been a lot better of a movie if this came 3, 4, 5, 6 years later after we had some of the Freddy films.
You think so? Huh. How different do you think it would have been?
Well, I think he would have known how to make a good horror movie on a lower budget. Maybe had a little more control over the costume.
I guess I never viewed this as necessarily a horror movie, though, myself. Did you think that's what he was going for?
Well, Swamp Thing is more of a horror character in the comics.
That's true, but I don't know that Craven cared a lot about the comic book accuracy beyond just... He wasn't trying to go against it, but he was unfamiliar with it when he came into the project.
Yeah, he says on the what do you call it?
Commentary?
The commentary, yeah. Very common word. He says on the commentary that he had never read Swamp Thing, but he did go and read a bunch of the comics prior to writing and as he prepped for the film. So he did want to stay as true as possible in respect to source material, which I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But he didn't necessarily have a firm grasp on it. My understanding is up to that point, Swamp Thing spent very little time in the swamp. So the fact that you have a whole movie in the swamp, I think issue 2 he gets taken away. But
well, did those comics come out in the mid-70s? Lynn Wein, I think, is the creator.
Yeah, it was
then
Lynn
Alan
Wein
Moore got involved at some point.
Yeah, this is where, let me see if I can, kind of meant to look at this earlier anyways, lost track of time. So it came out, his first appearance was in 71.
Okay, early 70s.
Yeah, and if you know much about Swamp Thing, you know they've changed things around quite a bit. but it has to do with the green, the power of the green. And I'm not even sure that Alec Holland was the first Swamp Thing. So actually, no, he wasn't. Alexander Olsen was the first Swamp Thing.
A
Alec Holland
Lost
became
Olsen
Swamp Thing
twin
in
with
'72.
Mary Kate and Ashley and whatever the other one's name is.
Yeah, he got abducted by Uncle Jesse, and then Alec
Oh,
Holland took up the character. And then I'm looking to see. So yeah, the first issue of Swamp Thing was October of '72. Swamp Thing's always a character that I found very interesting, but never really dove into the comics just because he was a DC character, and I didn't care enough. So, but I've always
I
enjoyed him on the screen.
I always had the idea that early on, a lot of those DC characters, they tended to exist in their own vacuums, and they just kind of cross over very rarely. I almost just assumed Swamp Thing was supposed to be almost like a pocket universe, but maybe he got worked into the larger DC cast eventually.
If you talk to people with DC, they want to treat him like he's some big shot, right? But I'm not sure he ever really had the popularity to support that. Like you said, it seems like he's in his little pocket world, almost like in a completely different way, kind of like the Punisher in Marvel. He's not really
Yeah,
interacting with people all the
sure.
time because he's not on the same power scale. Though in Swamp Thing's case, his power is actually probably a lot stronger than everyone who's around. So
You wouldn't know it so much in this movie because you get a very much of a nerfed Swamp Thing here, and I guess maybe the argument is Holland is still trying to figure out what exactly he is, and he learns what he can do as he goes along.
yeah, he definitely got some voice lessons between this movie and the sequel. That's for sure. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the sequel yet, but
No, I own it. I've only seen it clips here and there, so I never sat through. I hear the villain comes back. Hopefully, he won't be his werepig form. I assume he'll look. I was not a fan.
yeah,
Just spoiler. I can't say I'm not a fan of the werepig look, but the werepig design is sort of the creature that gets killed off about midway through, not your final boss.
yeah. So in Return of the Swamp Thing, I view that as more of a reboot. It's probably technically a sequel, but the tone is so different. I call it a reboot with the main character still there. Maybe you could say it's like the modern day Suicide Squad. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of
okay,
continuity.
that's
But
fair.
growing up, I saw the Return of Swamp Thing a lot. They had that at the Blockbuster. They didn't have this movie. It took me a long time to finally see this movie.
Why is the first one more rare? Yeah.
Probably because it's not very good.
Well, I thought it'd be like the nudity or something. The whole controversy with that.
Maybe I'm sure the recall didn't help, but yeah, I don't know. Having just watched it a couple times again, I remember being a little disappointed with it when I saw it the first time, just because I really did enjoy the fun of the Return of Swamp Thing, and you just don't get any of that with this. They play this thing straight.
It's trying to be a melodrama, I think, even though it does lean towards the humor at points. I guess with the side characters, the heroes have little Jude, and the villains have what's his name, Bruno or something.
Yeah, I like Jude. I think he might be my favorite character in this whole movie.
There goes the neighborhood. He's in the movie a lot more than I would have expected. So they're introduced to him. He's the only guy who's able to watch the cash register at the gas station, and then you kind of think that might be it for him, but he just keeps showing up again, and he gets killed off, but then he doesn't. He's not dead, and then
So you have Ray Wise playing Alec Holland. You have Dick Durock playing Swamp Thing. You have Adrienne Barbeau playing Alice Cable. You have Lewis Jordan playing Anton Arcane. He's a much better Bond villain, by the way. You
yeah.
got some side characters like Bruno and Ferret, and then you have Reggie Batts as Jude.
And Holland has a sister, but she kills off real quick. Did we introduce her?
We haven't yet. Danette Brown plays Dr. Linda Holland, who I believe in the comics was his wife, and they do a swap out here to make it a sister.
What a weird change.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the only way you can have this love story take place before she dies.
Who dies?
Linda. She gets shot.
Why is it important that she's in the movie at all, though, for the love story?
Well, it's the motivation of he failed and his sister got killed, and then he carries around the locket as if they were married. I don't know.
Oh, I thought that was Adrienne Barbeau's locket somehow. That was her locket?
Oh no, it's a sister.
The
Yeah, it's a sister. Yep.
Oh, huh.
I mean, it would have been creepy if Cable had a locket with a picture of both the Hollands in it.
I don't know. I still just find her inclusion in the movie weird because you don't think about her after she dies. At least I didn't. I guess Swamp Thing does.
He shed a little tear And that's in the scene where you're trying to figure out, like, what is Swamp Thing? Is he Savage Hulk? Is he the Professor Hulk? Is he something in the middle? And I don't think this film ever completely answers that question. So I think by the sequel, he is definitively morphed into Professor Hulk.
Yeah. Huh. The sister, they just left her body in the lab when it blew up, and I kind of figured we'd see a skeleton or something when they go back to the burned out lab.
Yeah, I can't recall if they did anything with the body. You have one of the thugs brings up the locket to another thug who places the locket on a bush.
That's
Like a
Bruno, isn't it?
gravestone. I believe so.
Maybe they buried her.
Well, if they buried her, they probably just dumped her in the swamp. But
Huh.
I can't recall if they did anything with the body or if it supposedly burned up off screen. Not clear. I feel like I really wanted to like this movie, and I want to have a lot of thoughts about this movie, but I just don't know if I can have tons of thoughts about this movie other than it's cheap.
It's a good looking cheap movie though. I would say I find the movie surprisingly beautiful to look at, but in some ways I hold it against it because for this type of movie, you don't want everything to look picture perfect when Swamp Thing is hunting down the bad guys. It's bright, it's sunshiny. You're almost wondering how can they not see him coming through the weeds. I mean, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
The way it's shot.
No, it's it's all in the swamp, which sounds, I think, really good until you get to the movie itself, and you realize that most of this movie is Cable running away from the thugs in the swamp
and getting caught and then escaping again. I think it
Yeah.
happened 3 times, maybe more.
I believe you're right, and for the most part, she's wearing the same clothes. She gets one switch of an outfit, I think, about 2/3 of the way through, but like it's the same scene over and over. And then I
Oh,
think she's in those clothes until she gets caught, and they put her in the dinner dress for the third act.
the credits were very proud of that dinner dress. They specifically mentioned the people who made the dress in its own little section. I don't remember the name of them, but they credited on that dinner dress.
Yeah, I mean, it was a dress, I guess.
Yeah.
So the movie starts with, we're not going to go through scene by scene. Cable arrives in the swamp to take the place of another person who got killed.
Eaten by
She
alligators,
meets
maybe.
Yeah. She meets the Hollands. There's
Assumes
this
they're
other
married.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, assumes they're married and gets creeped out when he hits on her. There's a guy named Ritter who ends up being Arcane. Spoiler alert.
What a weird fake out. Because I don't think the audience cared. See, like, all the characters in the movie are already familiar with Arcane, and they assume he's dead. But the audience doesn't know. So why are they building this fake reveal when the audience isn't going to care, is what I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just so they could pull off the mask and give Arcane an accent. But
I forgot
not
he had a
totally sure.
mask. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't know.
So Alec and Linda are working on this plant animal concoction, which is supposed to like cure hunger and grow rapidly, something to the effect of that. And then as soon as they figure out that it's working, Arcane has his henchmen basically tear the place down, steal the notebooks, try to steal the formula itself, which goes awry when Linda tries to be a hero, gets shot, and then Alec takes the stuff and tries to run away with it, spills it not on himself, but then it's caught on fire by it. Nice little fire scene.
That was good.
Yeah.
Did that person get injured in real life doing that?
No.
I just
he was
assumed.
a pro.
Okay.
They said in the commentary he learned his skill by his swimming pool using chemical concoctions that would burn at a low degree of heat. And if it got too hot, he'd just jump in the pool.
That's crazy, though.
Self-taught man right there.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But he was on fire for quite a while, and it was a
he was.
decent little blaze there. So they destroy the place. Then you have the scenes where they're chasing Alice for almost the entire movie because they realize that she has the notebook at some point. She makes friends with little Jude
at the gas station. Teaches her how to knock the Coca-Cola out of the old machine.
Yeah.
Gotta punch it.
Yeah, he gives her a gun that blows up on the first shot.
That's funny. I don't know why they put that in there, but I like the little detail of the exploding gun, antique gun.
The banter between Jude and Cable's great. Cable has good chemistry with Ray Wise playing Alec as well, but it's off the charts with little Jude.
Yeah.
So eventually, they cut Swamp Thing's arm off, and it does not grow back in the sunlight, even though he's in the sunlight for a long time.
Yeah, that was an odd. I just assumed it would grow back almost instantly, because I assumed he'd already been shot a few times up to this point. Maybe all the bullets missed him, because earlier
they mentioned that they believe that he felt the bullets, but it wasn't enough to stop him.
Okay. But chopping his arm off. Okay. All
Hurt.
right. Sure. Sure. I can buy that.
At some point, Alice and Arcane both figure out that Swamp Thing is Alec Holland. So
Mm-hmm.
they're all kidnapped at the end. He's able to get the notebook. Jude's off screen after being brought back to life by Swamp Thing's hand touching his forehead and glowing greeny.
Huh.
So they're all at Arcane's house, I guess. Throws a big formal dinner party celebrating the duplication of the formula. And then he provides a toast to his good friend Bruno,
Oh
who
man.
found the
Poor
notebook,
Bruno.
and he is the guest of honor.
I knew something bad was gonna happen. Oh man.
The
The way
guest
he
of
was
honor asks
buttering
if
him up.
he's tested it on a plant, and he says, "Not a plant, but my guest of honor." And then Bruno has quite the metamorphosis where he sort of leaks.
You got to give this movie credit for the transformation scenes, even if you don't like the final product a whole lot. The final forms are not great, but the leading up to it,
I agree.
pretty cool.
Lots of good oozing and cocooning. But little Bruno, or big Bruno, turns into little Bruno, shrinks half his size, grows elf ears.
That's so weird.
He's like an elfin pig, and his white turtleneck shrinks with him, so it still fits.
Yeah, what?
And he plays the role of a leprechaun the rest of the movie, basically.
So there's a line of dialogue that the Swamp Thing. You want to get into this now about why it transforms specific people into particular things?
Oh yeah. So in trying to figure out what's going on here, Arcane goes and talks to Swamp Thing, who's down in the basement, chained up.
Mm-hmm.
And
only one
he's
arm,
like,
though.
"What's going on here?" And Swamp Thing says, "The formula amplifies what is within. It amplifies your essence. You become more of what you already are." Well, he designed it.
Well, he hadn't tested it on anything. They had just invented exploding green, right? The stuff that blows up.
But now he is Swamp Thing, so he must know.
He doesn't know he can regrow his limbs in the sunlight.
Well, it's a work in progress here.
He's a scientist. He wrote it all down in notebooks. I just want to know why he knows what he knows, or give me something plausible.
So part of the problem with this movie is Arcane's confident that he is playing chess with this monster the whole time.
Mm.
And those of us who see both sides recognize, no, this is a game of checkers. This is checkers. Like you're giving people way too much credit here. But Arcane takes Swamp Thing's knowledge, what do you want to call it, and he puts two and two together. Bruno's essence was stupidity, so he shrank to what he actually was.
I had thoughts throughout, just on Bruno. I had thought he was secretly trying to help Miss Cable, because I misunderstood the whole deal with the locket, and I thought he was trying. I had thought he saw her hiding and didn't draw attention to it. But then ultimately, he's the one who captures the notebook at the end of the movie. So I was confused by what I thought was a heel turn, because I thought he was sort of a covert good guy all along. And then he turns into a good guy after he becomes Little Bruno. But I missed that character arc, whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever a good guy, but I think he was more of a neutral kind of character. Yeah, he did look out for his friends when he thought they were in danger. He says, "We need to go help them." And Arcane's like, "No, we're going home."
Yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah,
right.
I think you misread the scene with the locket for sure. But
yeah,
ultimately, I don't think he's a bad guy. Or he's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy.
He's working with the bad guys. Is this the Wreck-It Ralph line? Just because you bad guy does not mean you're a bad guy. Eh?
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. All right.
So then Arcane is banking on him being the essence of Jesus.
What a dummy.
Yeah, I know. So he takes the formula, and ultimately he becomes the furry Power Ranger villain with a sword.
Oh, it's so bad. I mean, I thought he was turning into something gelatinous. Like I said, oh, he's going to be slime because he's secretly slime. And then my first thought was werewolf. Then I thought maybe it's a rat because he's ultimately a rat deep down. But no, what would you describe his final form when it finally comes out?
Well, he oozes, and then he cocoons, and I got concerned about a butterfly at that point. Or a fly. Baxter Stockman-esque. But
I was also thinking
that would have been an upgrade.
Yeah.
That would have been an upgrade. No, it's like he's some kind of like were-rat. And in Wes Craven's defense, I think he pretty much said that the costume did not turn out as he thought it was going to be, nor was he consulted after the fact.
What did he want it to? I want to know what he wanted it to be.
He didn't want to talk about it too much. It doesn't sound like.
And so, of course, when your evil genius has transformed into a were-rat, the first thing he grabs is a sword.
Yep.
What? Why?
I know. And if he's the essence of what he was before, I suppose it's supposed to be rage, because he's definitely not smart anymore. And he's just
Oh, like
swinging
a
that sword
raging boar.
around.
Okay. He's a raging,
Yeah.
wild boar.
So they hear the ruckus down in the basement, and Bruno helps them escape through some kind of underwater tunnel that led to a soapy swamp.
How was that a
And
thing? The teleportation underwater tunnel.
I don't know.
How did Bruno knew what it did? That's what has he been down it before? Oh, you remember when we watched Tiny Toon Adventures, the summer vacation?
Yeah.
You remember what Buster and Babs fell into at the end of the minecart ride?
A plot hole.
That's what it's a literal plot hole in this movie, underwater plot hole.
Yeah. I have to imagine that something got cut there. Craven does say that most of the cuts happened in the third act. So I would imagine that this was not the original intent, and that there was some kind of plot in that hole. But you never know. Though once I saw the costume, I think I'd be trying to cut as much out of the act as I could. So
let's get this over with, boys. We're overworked already. Too many mosquitoes.
So little Bruno, the little Porky Pig character, he kind of distracts the swamp rat, and they escape, but he follows. They get into a sword fight where Swamp Thing grabs a stick. So it's not much of a fight because these costumes, they really can't do much. The entire movie, Swamp Thing has one attack, and it's called the throw button. He just tosses people. And he spends his other action item is falling down. So Swamp Thing, all he does in this movie is fall down and throw people.
He's surprisingly not that great in the swamp water. Like, I would think in this final battle, I can't think of any advantage that Arcane's mutant form should have over Swamp Thing in the swamp water. But I know he does have a sword, sure, but I don't think that should be enough unless he could cut Swamp Thing's head off.
Yeah, see, in my opinion, when Swamp Thing goes underwater, that's a free pass as the swamp creature to teleport yourself wherever you want in the vicinity of where you're at.
Oh, sure.
So, you know, I mean, if you're knocked down in the swamp water, you should instantaneously be able to stand up behind the person that knocked you down. Like,
I agree.
Common sense. But they don't do that here. It's like two kids playing in a kiddie pool.
And sadly, Swamp Thing retreats at one point. He turns his back to his arcane foe. And shortly after that, I think Cable gets stabbed through the chest.
And we're back. Sound any better?
Yes, you sound pretty good right now.
What do you think of the villain, Louis Jordan? I commented earlier, much better Bond villain than Swamp Thing villain. And I just think there's no gravitas in this role. I'm not sure it's his fault or not. But
well, I thought he was perfectly fine for what he is. I feel like he's perfectly threatening as your evil businessman type, but he doesn't strike me so much as the guy who wants to get his hands dirty. And that's what he does when he actually takes the formula. So I don't know, you need somebody who's just a little bit more unhinged crazy, less calm and collected, if you're going to have him just take the formula because he wants to be a super, super genius. He thinks he's going to be more of a genius than he already is, but they don't really establish why he's that greedy, that he's going to risk everything he has to get more of what he already has.
Well, and I feel like they changed the tone a little bit. At some point, he's like, I want the key to immortality.
Oh, okay.
And then it's like, I want to be a super genius.
Oh, I forgot he wanted
away
that. Yeah.
When he becomes the were-rat, which ironically is not named Ferret, and there is a character named Ferret in the movie. But yeah, I don't know. It's clunky. And I don't know how much that's lost from the cut scenes from the third act. But I don't feel like that's something that should have been impacted by it. Like the motivation of Arcane.
Yeah.
Arcane would have been a good Flash villain.
This version of him?
No, but he just fits the mold of lame. That's probably why Swamp Thing never broke out.
Lack of good villains?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak about his villains because I don't really, other than Arcane, I don't know who there is. So, not a great movie. Kind of boring to be about a swamp creature in a swamp.
Yeah.
Good actors, though. Just not given a lot to work with.
Yeah. It looks really good, even when I don't think it should look really good. It needs to look a little darker and grungier at times, but I'm sure that'd be very hard. That would have been hard to shoot. Harder in the dark, I'm sure, to get their lighting figured out. See everything.
Yeah, there's really no night scenes with Swamp Thing, is there?
There are night scenes, like when they're at the mansion, but by the time they're fighting in the swamp again, I think, they take their plot hole. I think it's daytime again when they get back to the swamp. Because, the sun has to come out for him to get his powers back in the dungeon.
I wonder if that was a safety issue. They mentioned in the commentary that basically they were surrounded by alligators, snakes, other critters, and
the crew
they were
threatened to
kind of
walk
lucky.
off or something. Yeah.
Well, they're lucky no one got bit. So I kind of wonder if some of that was safety concerns since they only had a $2.5 million budget. But I don't know.
I guess I'm surprised they swim so much in a real swamp. I thought they could have done like the Stand By Me movie and build a fake swamp, which still would have been a mess. But then you at least don't have real alligators down there.
Just takes one person getting eaten by an alligator. Then the unions get all upset.
Unions. They're so sensitive. I mean,
mm-hmm.
People get eaten by alligators now and then. Doesn't mean everybody's going to.
I agree. So box office wise, I don't know what it did, but it had a $2.5 million budget, and it did well on video and cable. And in 1989, we did get The Return of Swamp Thing minus Wes Craven.
I had no idea they were separated by that many years. Huh.
They're completely different movies tone-wise. Louis Jordan and Dick Durock are both back. I'm not sure about Jude. There's a black kid on the back of the box. So I don't know if it's supposed to be the same kid or not. That's because it's been so long. But we'll find that out next week.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Reviews-wise, it was kind of mixed. It was slightly on the positive side. So I think, again, it goes back to, I think people want to like this movie, and they're looking for reasons to like it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not finding as many as they want.
Yeah. That's fair.
How are we going to rate this thing?
Coca-Cola bottles, Steve Urkel glasses. What's that little rodent he pulls out of the vat early in the movie?
It looks like a possum, but I don't think that's what it was.
We can do wet possums.
All right, we'll do wet possums.
Yeah.
All right, that works. How many wet possums does Swamp Thing get?
I'm giving it 3 out of 5 wet possums. This movie has so much going against it, but it still has a lot going for it. And I will say, even with all the complaints about the movie, I find it more interesting than a lot of the recent superhero comic book based movies I've seen recently. And it's too slow, and it's repetitive, and the ending is rushed, and I don't understand the logic of everything. It was made on the cheap, sure, but again, it looks good for being so much on the cheap. I give it ultimately a recommendation. People's mileage may vary, whether they want to watch the full explicit cut or the TV cut. But, 3 out of 5 wet possums.
So, I really want to give The Return of Swamp Thing 3 out of 5 whatevers. And I can't do that if I give this one 3 out of 5.
All right.
So, I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 wet possums. Largely because this is not Wes Craven at his peak. I would have liked to have seen a Wes Craven with 5 to 10 more years experience directing, taking a chance of this movie, even with the limited budget and dealing with the studio for the cuts and that kind of stuff. I think he would have nailed it. I don't think he viewed this movie as a horror movie. And a good Swamp Thing movie should lean into that, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it 2 out of 5. I'm hoping my memory of the next movie is accurate, because I remember liking it as a kid. But maybe I just liked it because there was nothing else to compare it to.
That's fair, too.
Not a lot of superhero movies at the Blockbuster Video in 92, 93.
Mm-hmm.
It had this in Captain America. Ugh.
Ooh, man. I'd definitely rather watch this over any cut of the Albert Poon Captain America.
Rest in peace, Albert. But
oh, man, bad.
All right, well, that's been Swamp Thing. I think we're going to come back next week with The Return of Swamp Thing. And there's no third, so that'll be it.
Yeah.
Well, it was the TV show, but I don't think we're going to go into that. I enjoyed the show.
Nah, maybe someday.
But, all right. Thanks, everybody. See y'all next time.
There goes the neighborhood.